Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And so we are back with the continuation of Ariel Clary. If you guys recall, she was on the witness stand for 2.5 days. And so I brought you the first day, which was August 23rd. That was the first day she was on the stand. And that was brought to you in 2 parts because it was very long testimony. It took me about 4 hours to read all of it just for that one day. And so there was a part 1 and a part 2 for day 4 of testimony. And so I just uploaded the first part of the 24th, August 24th, which basically finished up the direct examination, which is where the prosecution was entering, where the prosecution was asking her questions. I'm getting tie-tongued here. And so I decided to cut when they ended that portion because now Cannick is about to cross-examine her, and I wanted to start a fresh video. So I think in the last video I said that was going to be, first I said part 1, then I said part 2. But technically, if we're going to start from the beginning of Ariel's testimony, then that last video is actually part 3. And then what I am bringing to you now is going to be part 4 of Ariel's testimony. So this video is going to be much longer than the last video because the last video was about an hour. And it may take me 2 to 3 hours to get through this part. So don't be surprised if, like at the lunch break or something like that, I say, okay, we're going to stop, break this video down, and then start with a new video to get going after lunch or just something like that. So don't be surprised if this stops, but I am going to try and go at least to 1.5 hours with this reading. So let's go ahead and get started. And so and then let me give you this disclaimer. If I say the court, I'm referring to Judge Donnelly. When whoever the person is questioning, so in this case it's going to be Cannick, he's going to be questioning Ariel. So I'll start off with Cannick, and so whenever the person is asking a question, then you know it is the attorney. It'll be Cannick in this case, and then the response will be Ariel. And so I explained that because I'm not going to say Cannick said this and then Ariel replied. I'm just going to keep this dialogue going, and I do try to change the inflection in my voice so that you can tell when I'm changing from person to person. I couldn't get the Ariel Clary voice impersonation down, so bear with me because I'm trying to remember how she talks and I couldn't really get it going. But you'll know in the change in tone or whatever that somebody else is speaking, and you'll be able to pick up on the dialogue. So let's go ahead and get started. So it says, in open court, the jury's not present. Donnelly, all right, let's get the jurors. The witness resumes the stand. The court deputy, all rise. Jury enters the courtroom. Court deputy, you may be seated. Donnelly, okay, everybody, we are ready to continue with the cross-examination by Mr. Cannick. Before we break for lunch, I'll go over our schedule calendar-wise with you all. So go ahead, Mr. Cannick. So Cannick, thank you. The court deputy, the witness is reminded she's still under oath. Ariel, yes, ma'am. So the cross-examination begins with Mr. Cannick, and Mr. Cannick is one of the lead attorneys for Mr. Kelly. So he says, how far did you go in school? Like, he didn't start off, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you, nothing. He just gets into the questions. So how far did you go in school? Pardon me? How far did you go in school? Donnelly, I think your microphone might not be working. And at this point, I'm thinking Donnelly might have some hearing issues because she swear to God, everybody's microphone is not working, but she's the least common denominator, the only person that can't hear nothing. So maybe they need to check her hearing and make sure that whatever she should be wearing in her ear is working because she can't hear anybody. So then, Cannick, how far did you go in school? High school? How far in high school? A high school diploma. You graduated? I did, yes. And when was it you graduated? I graduated in 2016. 2016? Was there a graduation ceremony? Yes, there was. What was the date of that graduation ceremony? I do not recall. Did you attend? I did, yes. Do you remember what time of the year it was? I do not recall. Do you remember whether it was in January of 2016? No, I believe it would have been later. Later? Now, before coming in and starting your testimony yesterday, you had met with the government and gone over the questions that they asked of you. Am I correct? Yes, I did. And how many times have you met the government to discuss your testimony prior to coming and giving testimony here? I don't know. Well, more than 5? About, yes. And when was the last time you spoke with them about your testimony? Today. And what time today? Before we began. Before you started this morning? Uh-huh. And what about last night? You asked me the last time. No, I'm asking you a new question. What about last night? Did you discuss your testimony with them last night? Not that I recall, no. Did you have any meetings with them last night? After, no. And before yesterday, when was the last time you met with them to discuss your testimony? The day before I had come here. And do you recall what the day before was? It was the day before yesterday. What was that day? What is today's date? Thursday? Wednesday? Donnelly, today's Tuesday. Cannick, you're looking to the government for an answer? Sunday. Sunday. Sunday? And what time did you start your meeting with them on Sunday? Probably around 11 a.m. And what time did you end on Sunday? Probably around 6 p.m. So about 7 hours on Sunday? Yes. And before Sunday, when had you met with them before Sunday? Saturday. And how much time did you spend with them on Saturday? About the same period. And before Saturday, when was the last time you spent time with them? About a week earlier. In that week, you met with them 1 day or 2 days? About 2 days, yes. And the same amount of time? Yes. And when you met with them, you went over documents. Am I correct? I did, yes. And they shared with you information about prior interviews you had given. Am I correct? Yes. And they also shared with you these photographs that you testified about here. Am I correct? Yes, they did. And they also shared with you other exhibits that they had that they were questioning you about. Am I correct? Yes. Now also, you made a number of social media postings about the facts of the case. Am I correct? It's been limited, but yes. I beg your pardon? It's been limited, but yes. When you say limited, how many? Less than 5. Less than 5 was your last posting? When was your last posting? I do not recall. And you've monetized those postings, am I correct? No, not all of them. I didn't ask you about all of them. I said, my question was, have you monetized them? Geddes, objection. Donnelly, well, why don't you? When you say monetize, do you mean what she paid for them? Cannick, you've written about the monetization of content. Am I correct? You researched that, correct? Yes. Do you know what I mean? Am I correct? I do, yes. Now, I want to go to your testimony yesterday and today. You just testified and told this jury about years of abuse. Do you remember telling us that? Yes. Okay. When did this abuse begin? In 2015. And you met Mr. Kelly in 2000. You met him in 2015. Am I correct? Yes, I did. And according to you, you met him as of April 18, 2015. Am I correct? I don't remember the specific date of the show, but yes, it was in April. Okay. And you testified that there came a point in time that you started living with him in 2015. Am I correct? Yes, that is true. When was that day? That is when school had ended and summer had begun. I began living in Chicago. And the abuse started right then? No. Did the abuse start a month later? The abuse started, about a few months later. Okay, so it started a few months later. And what was the nature of the abuse in a few months later? Withdrawn. When was it that school ended? I don't recall. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Sure. To show her something, see if it refreshes her recollection. Geddes, can you show us what you're showing? Cannick, proffering. Counsel approaches the witness, and then he continues. I want you to look at this document and see if it refreshes your recollection as to when the school year ended in 2015. Look at the portion that's highlighted in yellow. Yes. May I have it back? Proffering. They're talking about Ariel. I guess she kind of like hovering over this document. So after having looked at that document, does it refresh your recollection as to when the school year ended in 2015? It does. When did it end? Beginning of June. Beg your pardon? June. June what? 3rd. June 3rd. And based on your testimony, then you moved to Chicago with Mr. Kelly sometime after June 3rd, 2015. I'm sorry, I should rephrase that. I actually had left school probably about a week and a half earlier. I had turned in all my work. So you left school prior to June 3rd, 2015. Yes, that is accurate. And you said the abuse started about 2 months after that. Am I correct? Yes. And so that would be sometime in August. Am I correct? That is the first time he hit me open palm. Yes. My question, and if you don't understand my question, please let me know. My question is, the abuse started sometime after August. Then Donnelly jumps in. Can I just clarify? I'm so sorry. Cannick, when you said abuse, are you referring to something in particular? A physical abuse? Well, what I asked is that, okay, I'm sorry, let me back up. So when Donnelly jumped in, she said, can I just clarify? I'm sorry, Mr. Cannick. When you said abuse, are you referring to something in particular, a physical abuse? And then Cannick replies to Donnelly, well, what I asked is that she testified about a number of abuse during the time she spent with him. Donnelly, I just think it might being good to define what you mean by abuse. And then Cannick, what do you define abuse as being? Donnelly, well, why don't you direct her to the particular thing you want her to speak about? I just think abuse is a broad. All I'm saying is if you can break it down, abuse is a broad term. Cannick, when you said that my client abused you for the first time, what was the nature of that abuse? What time are you referring to? I'm asking you, you said that my client abused you 2 months after you started living with him. I'm asking you, what's the nature of that abuse? Oh, okay. There was a time that he did slap me open palm. So that would possibly be the beginning of it, which is when I told him my age at the end of the summer. And when he slapped you, he sent you home the next day. Am I correct? Yes, he did. And the slap is sort of at you, according to you. Now, when you went home, you were with your parents. Am I correct? Yes, I was. You were with your family. Am I correct? Yes, I was. And you came back. Yes, I did. When you were with your parents, did you tell them that he slapped you? I did not know. Now, you testified and told us that you met Mr. Kelly in April of 2015. Now, and you told him that you were 18 years old. Am I correct? Yes. Now, your parents told you to tell him that you were 18 years old. Am I correct? No. Your parents did not tell you to tell him? Donnelly, I'm overruling the objection. Then Cannick, my question is, did your parents tell you to tell him that you were 18 years old? Yes or no? No, they didn't. Now, you testified and told us that when you went to this concert and that you were in the B section. No, the C section. Okay, the C section. You weren't in the B section? When we got there, they were together. So people in the C section could sit in the B section. I'm asking, where were you? The B section. B or C? I was in the B section with my parents, but we had bought tickets for the C section. And there came a point in time that you said that somehow you got up to the pit. Correct, yes. And prior, at some point, either before the show or while you were there, it was suggested to you by your mother that you get Mr. Kelly's attention. Am I correct? I don't recall that. Now, and when you got to be in the pit, you testified and told us yesterday that at some point Mr. Kelly grabbed your hand or held your hand. Yes, he did. Now you were reaching your hand up to him. Am I correct? Correct. And you weren't the only one doing that. There were a number of fans trying to reach him and get his attention. Am I correct? Absolutely, yes. And he touched a number of hands as he performed the song. Am I correct? Not actually true. He only touched about 10 people. 10 is not a number. Geddes, objection. Donnelly, sustained. So he touched more than your hand. Am I correct? Yes. Now, you testified and told us that he performed the show pretty much to you. Yes. Were you standing alone? I was not. You're around other people. Am I correct? I was, yes. There are other fans at the show. Am I correct? Yes, there was. They were right around you. Am I correct? Yes, they were. There were people who were in the back of you. Am I correct? Yes, there were, because you were in the pit. Am I correct? Yes, I was. And there were people behind you. Am I correct? Yes, there was. Immediately behind you. Am I correct? No. There weren't people sitting or standing behind where you were. Oh, yes, in the pit. Yes. Now, there were people on the side, the right side of you, yes, and the left side of you, And in the pit, there were people bunched around trying to get attention and dancing, am I correct? Well, not many people were in the pit. Speaking of dancing, you eventually got up on the stage, am I correct? I never got on the stage. You never got on the stage? I never did, no. You didn't go on the stage and twerk on the speaker? I sat on the speaker. I didn't go on the stage. So you sat on the speaker. Yes, I was on the speaker. Speaker was on the floor? Yes. You danced on the speaker? Yes. You twerked on the speaker? I danced on the speaker. What dance did you do? Objection. Donnelly, overruled. Do you remember what kind of dance you did? I danced just like everyone else. Do you know what a twerk is? Yes, I do. Did you twerk? Geddes, objection. I was just moving my body just like everyone else. When you were moving your body like everyone else, you were twerking, weren't you? Objection. The court sustained. Yes, I was. Okay. Donnelly, I sustained the objection, but... Oh, I'm sorry. Donnelly, it's all right. Cannick. Now, you testified that there came a point in time that you got Mr. Kelly's number somehow. His entourage gave it to me, yes. If my question asks a yes or no, please just give me a yes or no. Okay, sorry. And after you got his number, you told your parents, am I correct? Yes. And at some point, you told your parents, in particular, your mother, that you think that Mr. Kelly was looking at you and you think he likes you. I don't recall. Now, after you got his number, you made an effort to reach out to him. Am I correct? I did, yes, and there was no response to your effort. Yes, and basically there came a point in time that your mother reached out to him. Am I correct? Yes, and your mother started texting him. Yes, she did, and your mother started pretending that she was you. Am I correct? Yes, she did, and he asked your mother how old you were, how old she was, pretending to be you. I don't know. You read those messages between Mr. Kelly and your mother, pretending to be you, am I correct? I didn't read all of them, no. Now, did you read one where he asked your mother for a picture? I just saw pictures, yes, that's basically all I saw. And she sent him pictures of you, am I correct? Yes, she did. Pretending to be you, am I correct? Yes, she did. And one of the things that were sent was a video of you dancing in your underwear. Am I correct? Singing and dancing in your underwear. Am I correct? That's not true. That's not true. Yes. Didn't send a picture of you singing and dancing in your underwear. Getty's objection. My mother, no. You did? Oh, me at a later date, yes. How long did your mother keep up this texting to Robert pretending to be you? It was only probably about 2 days. Do you know how many texts were exchanged in that time? I do not know. Now, you didn't have to be 18 to audition for being a singer, am I correct? No. Now, your parents were really invested in your music career. Yes, they did support me. Well, they did more than support you. They encouraged you. Am I correct? Yes, they did. In fact, they put great pressure on you. Am I correct? I think they just supported me. Well, isn't it a fact that they beat you so that you could? Getty's objection. Donnelly overruled Cannick. Isn't it a fact that they beat you in order to make you practice your music? Yes. That beating started with you here when you were in Baltimore, am I correct? Getty's objection. Donnelly, could I see counsel at the side, please, with the court reporter? Sidebar held outside the hearing of the jury. The following sidebar took place outside the hearing of the jury. Donnelly, I just want to clarify where we're going here. I think I know, but I ruled pre-trial that even if the parents had pushed her into a relationship with him, that is obviously not a defense. I mean, they are what they are, but I think that I'm right that the focus on the parents right now is to support your theory that they and she conspired to get money out of him. Cannick, get money out of him? Yeah. Donnelly, extort him? Cannick, yes. Donnelly, I don't know. I'm sure you had a good faith basis for that. I'm not questioning that, but Cannick, basically, Your Honor, is that she had no interest in music at this time, none. The prosecutors opened up yesterday saying that she was only interested in pursuing her music and Mr. Kelly wanted sex. And then the next 4 lines are redacted, so we don't know who talking or who said what. Okay. So then Donnelly says, but I precluded inquiry into that. Cannick, right. I'm not asking that. Donnelly, right. Then Cannick, I'm trying to be very careful in asking it in such a way to show that basically her parents put great pressure on her and they were really invested in the music career and really interested to try to get her together with him. Donnelly, I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, first of all, the jurors are going to have a natural curiosity about where the parents were, but I am going to give them an instruction at the end that even if the parents didn't have a problem with this, that they can't consent for a 17-year-old. So, I mean, there is going to be some kind of an instruction about the limit to which they can consider the parents' involvement. Cannick, I understand that. Donnelly, but I don't know. I am guessing. I want to give you some latitude here, and I am doing that, but I just want to make sure we are not crossing over into what I precluded. So I think you need to get to the point where you say there is an extortion, which that's legitimate. Whether her parents were abusive to her, I don't think is consistent. Just let me finish. Let me finish. It's consistent with what that, and I am not sure how relevant it is. Let me just hear from the prosecutor, and then I'll hear from you. Geddes, first of all, The witness has now established that she was, in fact, beaten by her parents. That's now out there. There is no basis to go further back into her childhood and make her relive an abuse that she suffered by her parents in front of everybody today. But girl, you done sat here for the last 24 hours having her go over and over and over about abuse that allegedly happened in her life. But now they can't talk about the abuse that the parents inflicted on her. Come on now. So anyway, she says, this is not a trial of the witness's parents, and that is what they're making this out to be. You can go forward with your extortion theory in a different way without, she lived in Baltimore years earlier. It's just not relevant when the abuse began or what, frankly, the nature of the abuse. Donnelly, I don't see that you're going into an exploration of her childhood, are you? Cannick, far from that. Geddes, but when did she... Donnelly, but let me just finish. Geddes, sorry. Donnelly, calm down. Excuse me. Calm down. If you have evidence that, and I'm saying this because you have to say you have a good faith basis that they wanted to get money out of him, that's certainly an appropriate area, but only to the extent that she's aware of it. And so, if there is some evidence that she's aware of what her parents' motives are, that's fine. But I think there's been enough about whether her parents beat her. I thought she testified that she was in the choir and all these other things. Are you saying that that wasn't her own choice? Cannick, no. Donnelly, she was in 2 choirs. Cannick, right. Donnelly, and what's the basis for that? Is that in the materials? I haven't read all the materials. Geddes, what is in the material is that her parents put pressure on her to succeed in the music world. There's nothing in there saying that she didn't want to do Patriot Singers or the other activities that they did. But I still don't think we need to go any further into any physical abuse that Donnelly, to the extent that it's relevant, I don't know. It seems marginally relevant at best to this extortion business unless you are saying they forced her into it, which I don't care that to be your argument. Cannick, no. Donnelly, I take it your argument is that they are basically stage parents that don't really care about their child's welfare and have turned sort of a blind eye to what's happened to her, but I don't know how helpful that is to your case, but that's not my point. Cannick, right. Donnelly, but if you have evidence that there is line of inquiry that she conspired with her parents to get money out of him, perfectly fine. Cannick, yes we do. Donnelly, let's go to that and stay away from Cannick. Okay, he cuts Donnelly off. And then Donnelly says her childhood, okay. Geddes, so are we moving past any question? Donnelly, why don't you let me stay in your lane? I'll take care of it. Judge Donnelly is out of control. Did she just tell Geddes to stay in her lane? She is so wrong. So then Cannick, absolutely, because I am not going to listen to you. So I guess he was, who you talking about he wasn't going to listen to? I guess he wasn't going to listen to Geddes. I don't know, child. Sidebar concluded. So in open court with the jury present, Donnelly, all right, let's move on. And then Cannick continues, thank you. And then he says, now, you testified yesterday about some black panties that you got at the show. Am I correct? Yes. And you testified and told us that Mr. Kelly gave it to you. Yes, he did. Okay, this is when you were in the pit. Yes. You weren't the only person that received the black panties that night. Am I correct? No, I wasn't. And in fact, the next day you went on social media about it. Am I correct? I did, yes. And what did you put on social media about it? I believe I made a post pertaining to the black panties that he had given me. What did you say about the black panties? I don't remember verbatim. I am going to ask that I be allowed to approach, Your Honor. Sure. Geddes, Your Honor, may I see it as well? Cannick, is that a public post that you referenced? Yes. You made that. Yes, I did. And you made that. That's the post that you made pertaining to the black panties. Yes. Receiving the black panties. Yes. Your Honor, I am going to offer that as defense exhibit. Donnelly, any objection? Getty's none. Donnelly, okay, that's in evidence. Cannick, and I think this is in. Defense exhibit N was received in evidence. Mr. Cannick, and we are going to ask that it be published, Your Honor, to the jury. Exhibit published to the jury only. Donnelly, is this jury only? Cannick, yes, Your Honor. Okay, then there was a pause, and then Cannick, thank you, Your Honor. Then Cannick continues. Now, in April 2015, you were a member of the Patriot Singers, you said. Yes, I was. And how long had you been with that group? I had been with that group the entire year. You had to audition. Okay, and you testified yesterday about losing a scholarship that you had received or scholarships you had received for college. Where were those scholarships? What schools? No. I think you misunderstood me. By me getting homeschooled, I could no longer be eligible to get those scholarships. So you were never offered a scholarship. No, but we were studying too. Now, when you, in April of 2015, you were taking a break from music, am I correct? I don't recall. You don't recall whether or not you were taking a break from music. Getty's objection. Donnelly overruled. I actually was. I don't think so. No, I had just actually shot a release single. And what was the name of that single? It was called Liar Liar. And it was released at that time? No, it was unreleased. I believe we had just got back the finalized edits. And when was it that you got back the finalized edit? I believe it was in April. Was it before the concert or after the concert? I believe it could have been before. Okay. Well, when you met with the government, didn't you tell them that as of April 15th, around the time of this concert, that you had taken a break from music? As in break, don't look at them, please. I'm not answering my question. No. Did you tell the government during your meetings with them around April, the time of the concert, that you had taken a break from music? By break, I had been transitioning, yes. And when you say transitioning, what do you mean? Meaning that prior to April, I had been doing shows, making income from doing cover songs, and I was transitioning into releasing my own music. So I was taking a break. So that's what you call taking a break? Yes. Your Honor, may we approach? Yes. With the court reporter? Yes, Your Honor. Sidebar held outside the hearing of the jury. The following sidebar took place outside the hearing of the jury. Donnelly, so just before we begin, please don't give instructions to the witness. I'll take care of that if you need it. Cannick, okay. Donnelly, what is it you want? Cannick, Your Honor, in her 302, she clearly stated that she was taking a break from music at around the time that she had met Mr. Kelly, right? She was no longer interested in music because of the pressure that her parents had put upon her, and she's clearly lying about that now. And when I don't want, Donnelly, you haven't shown her the statement. Cannick, I am going to show it to her. Donnelly, okay, I am going to show it to her. I thought you forgot. Cannick, no, I just have someone who is retrieving it for me, but I think this is opening the door to get in the fact that while she's taking a break, I don't want to get into it, but she just has to own up to it. Donnelly, first of all, you were kind of opening the door, not her, but I think it's okay to ask her if her parents were pressuring her. That's fine. Oh, okay. We're just not going down that road into when you were 6. Cannick, I don't want to do that. Donnelly, and all those things, so it's fine. We're talking about the time around when it started. That's fine. Cannick, okay. Donnelly, and obviously, just general rule, we are not having, and I am not suggesting you would do this, but I did preclude inquiry into a number of areas, which I'm sure you remember, but anything around the area, you can show her the. Cannick cuts her off and says, okay. Donnelly continues to get her thought out as she always does. I don't need to tell you how to do that. Sorry. Sidebar concludes. Ooh, child. So in open court, whenever you're ready, Mr. Cannick, then Cannick. Wait, hold on a second. I lost my place laughing at these fools. Okay. In open court, jury present. Donnelly, whenever you're ready, Mr. Cannick. Cannick. Okay, thank you. Now, your parents proposed a number of business deals with Mr. Kelly. Am I correct? Yes, they did. And one of the business deals that they proposed to Mr. Kelly was to endorse a Bluetooth dildo. Am I correct? Lord Jesus. That is correct, yes. And in fact, they made a number of efforts to try to get him to do this. Am I correct? Yes. And the feature of this dildo was in use. It would sing Mr. Kelly's music, correct? Correct, yes. And it was your mother who was pretty much promoting this. Am I correct? I don't remember which one of them it was. And Mr. Kelly refused. Am I correct? No, he actually told them to give him a proper proposal. Did they give him a proper proposal? I don't know. At your graduation, didn't your mother approach Mr. Kelly again about endorsing this Bluetooth dildo and he refused? No, at graduation, that's when he told them to send him a proper proposal. And it's your testimony here today under oath that he never rejected this proposal. Geddes, objection. Donnelly, overruled. Do you recall whether he rejected the proposal? Azriel, in their face, no. Cannick, do you recall him ever rejecting the proposal? He did confide in me later, yes. What was that? He just said that it was not something that he could ever do. Not something he could ever do, right? Correct. Geddes, objection. Donnelly, overruled. That's what he said. Azriel, Donnelly, all right, next question. Cannick, they also tried to get him to fund a food truck, am I correct? I believe so, yes. And he declined that one as well, am I correct? Yes. And your father tried to get him to let him operate Mr. Kelly's lighting show for his concerts, am I correct? Yes, he did. And Mr. Kelly declined that, am I correct? Yes, he did. Then your mother tried to get a job working for Mr. Kelly, am I correct? I actually told her to do that. Okay, but the answer to my question would be yes. I asked her to do that, yes. No, I didn't ask. Donnelly, let me. Just do your best just to answer the question that Mr. Cannick is asking you. Okay, Donnelly, okay. Azriel, okay. Donnelly, put the question again, Mr. Cannick, please. Azriel, yes. Donnelly, oh, the answer is yes. Okay. Geddes, I think she was, then Azriel, I was asking to repeat. Geddes, asking him to repeat the question. Cannick, could you read it back for me? Then Donnelly, yes. And I would appreciate if everyone would let me do my part of the job. I think I got it, okay? All right, if you can read it back, that would be fine. The question was read. Then Azriel responded, I would have to say that wasn't true. Well, your mother didn't try to get a job with Mr. Kelly as an assistant. I told her to do that. Your mother didn't try to get a job with Mr. Kelly as an assistant herself. No, I told her to do that. Donnelly, but then did she do it? Azriel, yes, she did. Donnelly, okay. Cannick, your mother didn't try to get a job with Mr. Kelly as his driver. Yes, she did. Did she get the job? No, she didn't. Now, at some point, your mother told you to take pictures and information regarding Mr. Kelly so it could be used. Those items could be used for potential blackmail. Am I correct? No, I'm not correct. That is not true. And that is your testimony under oath here. Yes. Then there's a pause. Then Donnelly, just tell the government what you're referring to if you don't mind. And then Cannick, and then it's redacted -2, page 2. So we don't know why there's a redaction here, but for some reason they don't want us to know what this document was. And then Geddes says thank you. And then Cannick, okay, now isn't it a fact that you told the government in a meeting on January 9th 2020 that before you met Mr. Kelly you were taking a break from music and enjoying life? Yes, I was transitioning, yes. Now you testified and told us yesterday that there was a meeting that you had with Mr. Kelly at the Dolphin Hotel. Yes, and you testified and told us the manner that you were dressed when you went to that meeting. Am I correct? Pardon me? You testified and told us yesterday about the attire that you wore at that meeting. Am I correct? Yes, and there was a photograph of you in evidence that you identified as the outfit that you wore on that day. Am I correct? Yes. Now, when you met with the agent in this interview that you had with them, you told them that you were dressed in baggy clothes. Am I correct? Miss Donnelly, what kind of clothes? Cannick, baggy. Donnelly, okay. Azrael, to meet him? Isn't it a fact that you met with the agents? When I say the agents, the government. Oh, okay. Isn't it a fact that you told them that when you met with Mr. Kelly on the date that you went to the Dolphin Hotel, that you were dressed in sweat clothes? No. And you're absolute about that as anything else you've testified to. Yes, Getty's objection. Donnelly, overruled. So at least Donnelly is being pretty balanced in her overruling stuff that's going on. So then Cannick continues. Now, and isn't it a fact that you told the government in your meeting with them that you had just gotten out of weightlifting class and you were sweating? No, I told that to the defendant. Okay. Now, when you had the meetings with the government, you were advised by the agents that they were government officials. Am I correct? Yes, I was. And they advised you that making a false statement to a government official is a crime. Am I correct? Yes, they did. And they told you the consequences of making that statement, making a false statement. No, but you know what a crime is, correct? I do, yes. Okay, too many pieces of paper, Your Honor. May I just have a moment to retrieve it? Donnelly, yes. And then there's a pause. Then Cannick comes back. Now, I asked you earlier about your mother seeking employment with Mr. Kelly, and you told me that it was your suggestion. Do you remember telling me that? Yes, it was. Now, when you met with the government, did you tell them that your mother suggested that she could be employed by Mr. Kelly? I don't remember. I'm going to show you this document and see if it refreshes your recollection. May I approach, Your Honor? Yes. Just direct your attention to the upper portion. Okay, which part? Let me have that. Sorry, the front or the back? This top paragraph. Yes. Have you read the document? Yes, I did. Yes. Did it refresh your recollection that it was your mother who suggested that she got a job with Mr. Kelly? They could have did that inaccurately. I didn't ask you that, whether or not what they could have done. Yeah, what I'm asking you is, did the document refresh your recollection that it was your mother who suggested she get a job? No, I still did suggest those jobs to my mother. So after having read that, yes, it does not refresh your recollection. No, but you read the document and you saw it there. Am I correct? Yes, then there's a pause, and then Cannick, Your Honor, I am going to move to another area. Donnelly, okay. Cannick, I'm done with the 302s. Okay, so then Cannick continues. Now, you testified there came a point in time that you're at the Dolphin Hotel and that, according to you, my client, Mr. Kelly, asked you to perform certain sexual function behavior on you. Yes, he did. Okay. And you testified that there came a point in time that he actually did, and then police came. Am I correct? Yes, that is true. And when the police came, you were still in the room. Am I correct? I was in the restroom. But when the police were there, you were in the room. Am I correct? Yes, I was. And you spoke to them, correct? Yes, I did. They asked you your age. They did, yes. You told them 18. I did, yes. They asked you for identification. I did, yes. You gave them identification. Am I correct? Yes, I did. They studied the identification. Is that a yes? Yes, sorry, yes. And after they finished studying the identification, they had you call your parents. Am I correct? Yes, I did. And you put the phone on speaker. Yes, I did. And you spoke to your parents. Am I correct? I did. Yes. Now, your parents spoke to you in the presence of the officers. Yes. And they never asked you to come downstairs. Am I correct? No, they did not. You didn't tell Mr. Kelly that, well, you know what? Enough of this. I'm going with the officers. No, I did not. You didn't tell the officers that Mr. Kelly violated you. Am I correct? I had not, no. In fact, according to you, you stayed in the room and continued the sexual encounter with Mr. Kelly. Am I correct? I did, yes. And according to you, you stayed in the room and continued the sexual encounter after the officers had left. Am I correct? Yes, I did. And then, according to you, you didn't want this to happen. Am I correct? I did not want this to happen, no. And you felt violated, am I correct? I did, yes. In fact, you were outraged, am I correct? Yes, I was. But according to you, he came back into town and you got back with him within a couple of days, am I correct? No, he had flown me out to the city he was in. Well, isn't it your testimony that he stayed in town and while he was in town, you and he got back together sexually? No, I think you misunderstood me. Don't tell me that I'm misunderstanding. Geddes, objection. Okay. It's either yes or no, Your Honor. I haven't said a word. That's Donnelly, y'all. Cannick, okay, I'm sorry. I guess Donnelly didn't hear Geddes when she said objection, Your Honor. Because she said the days that, like, this is so interesting. This is like a episode of Love and Hip Hop. Y'all keep on talking. So Cannick goes back to Ariel and he says, didn't you testify yesterday that he was in Orlando for a few other days and you and he got back together a couple more times? No, that's not what I said yesterday. Okay. And so after you felt so violated and outraged, you flew out to meet him under the impression he would teach me techniques. No. Donnelly, just answer the question. Ariel, okay. Donnelly, you don't have to explain. If there's something that needs explaining, the government can ask you on redirect. Ariel, okay. Donnelly, so what is the answer to Mr. Cannick's question? Ariel, okay, can you re-ask it? Cannick, after being violated, outraged, and devastated, you flew out to meet him. Am I correct? I did, yes. And how shortly after was it you were violated, outraged, and devastated that you went out to meet him? How soon? Yes, most likely the next weekend. Did your parents go with you? They did not. Do you have an older brother? I do, yes. Did he go out with you? He did not. Did a chaperone go out with you? No, I had no chaperone. Do you have an older sister? I do, yes. Did the older sister go out with you? She did not, no. You went out by yourself, am I correct? I did, yes. Did you tell your parents about the violation that Mr. Kelly supposedly committed upon you before going out to meet up with him? Geddes, objection. Donnelly, overruled. Absolutely not. Did you tell anybody? No one. Now, when you went out the first time, where did you go? I believe we were on the West Coast in LA, and you took time off from school. I tried to go on the weekend. My question is, did you take time from school on this trip? I believe it was the weekend. Didn't you testify yesterday that trip occurred on the 21st of, well, you tell me, what was the date of the trip? I don't actually remember the date for meeting. I would need the evidence. Child, didn't she say she went to California on the 29th? And didn't I tell y'all that there was a plane ticket on the 28th? Where she was not going to Los Angeles, where she was actually supposed to be going to San Jose for the San Jose Music Festival, but she said she went to some other festival in LA, and then she went to Stockton and all that. Now look, Ariel, I'm old, but I got a good memory, girl. I know what you said. Okay, so she says, I don't actually remember the date for the meeting. I would need the evidence. And where were you that trip? California. And you testified and told us yesterday that you were flown out there by Mr. Kelly. His assistant, yes or no, ma'am? Yes. Okay. And you were shown a ticket yesterday for the trip? Yes. Where specifically did you fly? To California. Does April 28th sound familiar or of 2015? That does sound familiar, yes. Do you remember what day of the week April 15th was in 2015? Getty's objection. Ariel, April 28th was in 2015. Donnelly, you're not objecting to that, are you? Getty's, no. Donnelly, okay. Ariel, I don't know. Cannick, Your Honor, may I approach? Donnelly, yes. I'll ask you to look at this and see if it refreshes your recollection. That's a calendar, right? Yes. The calendar is for April 2015. Am I correct? Yes. What date is it? What day is April 28th? It is on a Tuesday. That was a school day, was it not? Yes, it was. Did you have school the following day? I did, yes. Did you have school the following day? I did, yes. So the answer to my question earlier about whether or not you took time away from school to go, the answer would be yes. Am I correct? Yes, that is true. And you went with your parents' permission. Am I correct? Yes, I did. How long did you stay out on that trip? I don't remember, but it was definitely days. Didn't you testify yesterday that you got stuck out there? Yes. And when you say stuck, what do you mean? Meaning that, like, if it was in the middle of a school week, I wouldn't be returning until Sunday or Monday. Well, didn't you go to another concert on May 1st? Yes, I did. Where was that concert? I don't recall. And that concert was on the West Coast, was it not? I don't recall. I'm sorry. Does Stockton, California sound correct? Yes, that does. And you didn't fly home in between going to the West Coast on the 28th of April and May 1st, did you? I don't know. May 1st was a weekend. Am I correct? I don't. Let me show you this and see if it refreshes your recollection. Thank you. Yes, May 1st is a Friday. So you didn't fly back home after flying out on April 28th. Am I correct? No, I'm not correct. Oh, no, you are correct. Sorry. And you said you went to Stockton, California. Yes. And that was for a show. Am I correct? Yes. And you stayed at that show. What was the next show that you then went to? After California, I believe it was Las Vegas. And you didn't go back to the East Coast, back to Orlando. Am I correct? I don't know. You don't know whether or not you went back to your home between then. What was the show? The date of the show in Las Vegas? I don't recall that's what I'm saying. I don't recall the date of the show in Las Vegas. Now, I'm going to show you this document and see if it refreshes your recollection as to the date of the concert in Las Vegas. There was a pause. May 3rd. May 3rd was the date. Yes, 2015. And you didn't fly back from Stockton to Orlando in between the May 3rd and May 1st date, did you? I don't think so. And what day of the week was May 3rd? Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. Geddes. Your Honor, we'll stipulate that it was a Sunday. Donnelly. Okay, thanks. Cannick. And the next concert that you attended with Mr. Kelly was where? I don't know. Now, when was it that you actually left school to just continue to fly around and go to these shows? It was about the ending of May. Ending of May? Yes. And before you left school to just fly around consistently, how many shows had you attended before doing it pretty much on a regular basis? I guess whatever tours, shows he did between April to May. And it didn't matter if it was a school day or not. Am I correct? It did matter, yes, actually. How so? I would have to make up a lot of work when I would go back to school, like I had to stay after school and make up work. So you would make up attendance, right? No, either you are there or you're not. Yes. Okay. Now, and these shows that you are going around the country with Mr. Kelly and his ensemble, your parents went with you. Am I correct? No, they did not. No siblings. Am I correct? No. No chaperone. Am I correct? No. And the meeting that you had with Mr. Kelly at the Dolphin Hotel, that was an audition. Am I correct? Yes, it was. Your parents didn't go with you to that audition. Am I correct? No, they did not. You went there in skinny jeans, you said. Yes, sir. Some type of a crop top. Crop top? The top was mesh, yes, mesh. And you went there, according to you, to audition to see how he would evaluate your singing ability. Am I correct? Yes, sir. And that was important to you. Am I correct? Very important. And that was important to your mother. Am I correct? Yes. And you testified and told us that there came a point in time during your meeting, your initial meeting with Mr. Kelly in the Sprinter van, that he asked you for a kiss. Yes, he did. Now, when he asked you for a kiss at that point in time, this is before you went upstairs. Am I correct? Correct. And you got out of the van. Am I correct? Yes, we did. And how did you get to the Dolphin Hotel? I had a car that my parents had given me, and when you got out of the van, you didn't go to your car, turn it on, and say, I'm getting the hell out of here, correct? No, they made me park my car. They didn't withhold your car. You could have had your car again, am I correct? They had the ticket, right, but you could easily go and give them the ticket to get your car. I'm saying his entourage had the ticket. All right. And you're testifying, telling us that because his entourage had the ticket, you couldn't get your car. Yeah, no, it was a thing that went up that you needed to scan the ticket to get your car out of the parking. And so because of that, you had to go upstairs. No, I didn't have to go upstairs because of that. Okay, you could have gotten home. Am I correct? Yes. Now, you testified and told us that after you got upstairs, Mr. Kelly asked you to relieve him. Am I correct? He did, yes. And he said that he needed to be relieved before he could listen to you audition. Am I correct? That is true. And isn't it a fact that you met with the government? You told them that, well, in one of the interviews, you told them that Mr. Kelly basically was masturbating while you sang. While what? While you were singing. No, that's not. I don't think you understood what I said accurately. No, my question, it was nothing you told me, ma'am. Oh, okay. My question is, isn't it a fact that when you met with the government, you told them that Mr. Kelly was masturbating while you sing? While you sang, he said. I never said that. No, never said that, right? No, not that I recall. You never said it. I don't recall saying that. Now, when you were meeting with the government, there was someone in the room taking notes. Am I correct? I believe so, yes. There was more than one person in the room. Am I correct? Yes. And they were taking notes. Multiple people were taking notes of what you were saying. Am I correct? Yes. You saw them actually writing down as you were speaking. Am I correct? Yes. Now, and you told us that Mr. Kelly made these Lord, I think he's trying to say entries, but the court reporter wrote entreaties of you, and you rejected him. Am I correct? I did, yes. And there came a point in time that he told that he would take care of you for the rest of your life if you allowed him to have sexual pleasure with you. Am I correct? He did, yes. And you never went home and told your parents any of this. Am I correct? Never. And when your parents called up at the room, well, when you called your parents from the room, you had them on speaker. You didn't tell them anything about this at all. Am I correct? Of course not. And you testified that he had video iPads about during this encounter. Yes, okay. And they were on. Yes. And he was recording what was going on. Am I correct? No. At that point, he was watching something and I could not see what it was. I just saw him pull out an iPad. You just saw him pull out an iPad. Yes. And you told the government about that during those many meetings. I believe so, yes. And your single is called Liar, Liar. Am I correct? Geddes, objection. Donnelly, overruled. Azriel, yes. You testified earlier about the fact that there were a number of women living with Mr. Kelly. Yes. And I think you testified that there came a point in time that some of them had left. Yes. Now, a number of them lived there off and on. Am I correct? No, I'm not correct. You're not correct. Didn't Juice live there off and on? No, Juice was with him 20, like almost every hour out of the day. Juice didn't have a job? No, Juice did not. Juice had a car, right? No, Juice did not. And Juice, when was it that she left? According to you, I don't remember when she left. I just remember the order of which girls left. So I don't know if that's helpful. And what about Cannick? May I speak to the government? Donnelly, sure. I'm showing you what's been admitted into evidence as Government Exhibit 76. Did that person live in the house? Azriel, I don't know. Do you know who that person is? I do, yes. Did you see this person in the house? Yes, I would. Donnelly, just to be clear, are we talking about the house in Atlanta? Cannick, either house. Donnelly, oh, okay. Azriel, in Atlanta? Cannick, either house. Donnelly, did you see that person in... This is my fault. I'm confused about where the houses are. Atlanta and Chicago, correct? Cannick, yes. Donnelly, okay, so... Azriel, yes, I did. Now I'm confused, and that's Cannick. So Azriel, you asked, did I see her at the house? Yes, I did, in Chicago and both Atlanta. And was she living at the house in Chicago? I don't know. Was she living at the house in Atlanta? I don't know. When you saw her at the house in Atlanta, was it for one day? Usually it was at his discretion. Don't tell me about, I would only see her when he would want me to. When he would want you to. Did you have dinners? Withdrawn. The woman who lived with Kelly, you would all eat together from time to time. Am I correct? Yes. You would go to movies together. Am I correct? Seldom, yes. Did you go bowling together? I don't recall going bowling. Did you go to picnics together? We would go to parks. You would play volleyball together. I don't recall that. You would have dinner together. Yes. And that would be at all of the houses. Am I correct? Yes. And basically you functioned as family. Am I correct? Well, I wouldn't call it a family. No. You wouldn't call it a family now, but back then you operated as a family, correct? Controlled. Yes. Ma'am, you were there. I correct. I was. You stayed there. Am I correct? I did. Yes. And you ate with them. Am I correct? I did. You went to the movies with them. Am I correct? Yes. Now, you testified yesterday about my client not celebrating Christmas. Do you remember telling us about that? All holidays. All holidays? Do you recall Mr. Kelly taking withdrawn? Do you recall Mr. Kelly renting a house in California for Christmas holiday? Yes, I do. Do you recall Mr. Kelly taking videos of all of you during the Christmas holiday? I do. Do you recall Mr. Kelly giving gifts on Christmas? I do, yes. Do you recall Mr. Kelly specifically giving each of you, at minimum, $10,000 to go and buy gifts for each other? I do. So he doesn't celebrate Christmas, no holidays, in fact. No, what I said was they were delayed. Oh my God. I think I gotta take a break here. Okay, Cannick. My question is, you testified and told us earlier that he didn't celebrate any holidays, and my question to you is, then Azriel cut him off and said that's not true. I said the holidays were delayed and that if he was not celebrating, I could have went home to my family. You wanted to get that out, right? Geddes, objection. Donnelly, sustained. Is this a good time to break? Cannick, a very good time. Donnelly, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break. Just before we do, I told you that I would, and I'm not taking credit for this schedule. Miss Green did this, but I just want to go over the days that, anyway, I'll stop. So we are going to work through Thursday this week. We'll be off on Friday. Next week, we initially were going to be off on the 3rd, but because the following week we have so many days off, we're going to work on the 3rd, on Friday the 3rd. Then next week we have Labor Day and 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So we will not be working the 6th, 7th, or the 8th, but we'll be back on the 9th or the 10th. Then the last week in September, Yom Kippur is on the 16th, which is a Thursday, and we'll break a little bit early on the 15th in case, people have a dinner to go to or something, but we will be working on the 17th as well. So if you have questions about that, why don't you direct them to Miss Green? All right. I'm trying to make the best of the time we have, and I think we're on schedule, but now we're going to break for lunch. Please don't talk about the case at all, but enjoy your lunches, and I'll see you at 2:15. The jury exits. Donnelly, all right, the witness can step out. We'll see you this afternoon. Is there anything that we have to do before everybody can sit down before we break for lunch? Cannick, nothing from us, Your Honor. Donnelly, okay. Geddes, no, Your Honor. Donnelly, all right, thank you so much. Have a good lunch, everyone. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video because I realize that Azriel is still on the stand the following day, and so I still have 100 pages left on this document, and then there are quite a few pages. So the next document is Azriel, and then Azriel's friend Malak, who she talked about earlier in her testimony. And so I am going to go ahead, stop here, because they are doing the afternoon session. What I've reported to you read to you is from the morning session. And so the next video is also going to be over an hour for me to read that document to you. So I'll finish up her testimony from the afternoon session, and then the Wednesday morning session when she finally concluded and got off the stand, and then we will get Malak's testimony, which was very short. I think the court reporter told me that Malak was only like 38 pages, so that means that the other 60 some pages is Azriel. So we're going to go ahead and end this here. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.